Hi, it is Tuesday, April the 21st. It's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I thought I'd make a real quick, get settled here. Make a real quick video vlog. It's been a while since I've done anything. I've been pretty sick, and it's because everybody else in my life has been sick. My son was bitten by a tick early in March, and it almost killed him. He had urichaliosis, and his liver was shutting down, and his kidneys were shutting down, and it was bad. He was really sick. Anyway, so he was in Freeman Hospital, which is one of the two hospitals in our area, the older one of the two, and he was up there for 3 days, and not counting the other 2 emergency room visits that were involved in the doctor's visit. So I was in and out of medical areas for quite a while, and for people like me that are chemically sensitive, a hospital is great because there's few germs. Well, actually that could be debated, but anyway, but there were tons and tons of scent. They use chemical cleaners to clean the floors. They use Purell before they go in the room. They actually have little signs up on the doors that says gel in, gel out. And that's just to remind them to put Purell on their hands. And I'm all for that. We don't want MRSA, we don't want staph or strep or whatever, but it's scented. And then there were a couple people that were in my son's room. He had to have what's called a sitter, which is a long story as to why he had a sitter, but he had to have one, and a couple of them actually were heavily perfumed. So it was very difficult for me to sit up there. I mean, I was an emotional mess, and I ignored the being triggered. I knew it was going to happen, but my son was sick, and it didn't matter. You could stick hot bamboo skewers into my fingernails. I don't care. I was going to be up there with my son. And then we had a week off, and then my uncle got sick, and he had a pleural effusion, and he was diagnosed. Uncle was diagnosed with lymphoma a month ago. And I've been helping him, taking him where he needs to go, and going to the appointments to help him to keep track of everything. I have my brain book right here, which will show you, I don't know if you can see this or not, all of the appointments. It's crazy. Anyway, so he was in the hospital 4 days the first time, and I was up there, excuse me, different hospital, same town, brand new hospital, and I was worried about the fact, I mean, seriously, it's only been open a month. I was worried about the fact that there might be off-gassing from the new building materials, and there was some of that. But anyway, I was up there with him for 4 days, up there quite a while, and then he came home, and we've had a bunch of doctor appointments in between, and then he had to have outpatient surgery last week on Thursday, and there was fluid in his lungs again, so he had to stay another 3 days. So all that to say, I was just starting to feel kind of human from being exposed to my son's hospital visit, and then I had another hospital visit with my uncle, 2 hospital visits with my uncle. And interestingly enough, the worst event of the whole thing was the day we went for outpatient surgery for Uncle John. I have my son John and my Uncle John, and my late husband's name was John. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, we went up. We had to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, first thing in the morning is always the roughest for me dealing with people, because people wake up and the very first thing they do is they take a shower, and they use all their scented products, and they put their freshly laundered clothes on that has tons of Febreze and fabric softener and Snuggle Bear and all this other crap on it, and then they do their hair and they do their makeup, and so people generally, for me, people are more scented first thing in the morning. So when I schedule things for me, I try to schedule them later on in the day. But it was just awful. People everywhere. The second hospital, the one that my uncle stayed in, was really interesting. I actually met the head honcho, the head administrator of the hospital, and on a totally unrelated incident, I had an opportunity to let him know of some frustration that I had, and he gave me his business card. So I wrote him a letter and explained to him, how very bad it is that, not bad, but how difficult it can be for people to have scented products around them. At one point, I don't even know where my mask is. I was wearing my mask, and one of the nurses asked me what it was for, and I told him, I have chemical sensitivity, and what that means is that scented products bother me. And he's like, oh, the nurses are not supposed to be scented. I'm like, I know. He's like, but some of them don't do that. And I'm like, I know. And so basically what I said in the letter was that I felt like there were two problems in the hospital. One was, yes, they tell the nurses don't be scented so they don't wear perfume, but there are more people than just the nurses and the doctors going in and out of those rooms. There's the nutrition people, the people delivering and picking up the food service trays. There was 2 different respiratory therapists, and one of them was heavily perfumed. I was really surprised that a respiratory therapist would be so heavily perfumed that she was. There was a lovely lady that was from the volunteer league, and they were pushing a cart with all these crocheted and knitted goodies and things, and my uncle was so mean to her, but she was so sweet. But she was heavily perfumed, and for some reason old lady perfume really bothers me. I think they all wear Chanel No. 5 or something. And anyway, so you've got all these people coming in and out of the room that are not told don't wear scent. And then you've got the cleaning lady. She was a sweetheart, but she was using some pine scented something, and the terpenes in pine really bother me. Then you have the problem of the nurses. The second problem is that everybody has to wash their clothes, and they wash them in all these different laundry products. So the nurses were coming in, and on them I was only smelling laundry soap, and I usually can tell the difference between a laundry scent and a perfume. They're different. So you have these nurses that are coming in, and bless their hearts, they're putting up with this cranky old guy, but they are scented. And I would just put my mask on, and they just kind of look at me weird because they'd walk in and I'd pop the mask on, and I didn't care if it offended them. I was there and I needed to be able to breathe. So I'm going to run out of time here, so I'm trying to make this quick. So this is my way of saying that people, if you are watching this and you work in the healthcare industry, you might want to consider, and I looked up some statistics. In America, and this is according to the CDC, in 2015, there are 18.7 million adults that have asthma and 6.8 million children. Asthma can be exacerbated. Asthma attacks can be brought on by scented products. It is estimated 37 million Americans have migraines. That's a lot. Migraines can be brought on or be made worse by scented products. 3 million people have epilepsy. I know of at least one person whose daughter has epilepsy, has seizures when she's around scented products, and I suspect there's more. I can't tell you how many chemically sensitive people there are because nobody keeps records, because nobody believes it exists, but it's an estimation of 10 to 15% of the population in America have some sort of a chemical sensitivity, and that could be anywhere from somebody gets a stuffy nose when they smell a perfume to people that are having seizures and can't breathe and anaphylactic reactions. So there's a whole gamut of that. So that's a pretty high statistic, because the 18.7 million was only like 6% of the population. So all that to say, all of these people are people that if you're a nurse or you're a doctor, you're coming into this hospital room, even if you're visiting somebody in the hospital, be aware that you could sit next to somebody, you could be trying to help somebody, and you're only making them sicker. So, it's really easy these days. They've got lots of unscented laundry products on the market. You just start washing your scrubs, your uniform, whatever you wear, just wash just those things in unscented products. I mean, you should wash all of your laundry in unscented products. You should wash your laundry in baking soda, as far as I'm concerned, but if you feel like you have to use a detergent, and I could see where there's some validity to that since you're in a hospital setting, some sort of a detergent to remove any possible germs, at least buy the unscented stuff and the unscented fabric softener. You're going to help people. And, I know I wasn't the patient and its focus is not on me, but I'm speaking on behalf of all of these patients that have no idea why they're getting sicker because this person comes in. And I did notice that my uncle, while he was sleeping, he would cough after this one nurse came in. She would come in to check on him and wake him up to do his vitals, and he would cough. Now, he'll be the first one to tell you he doesn't have anything like MCS, but, it's something to think about. So that's my plea. If you're near a hospital, you work in a hospital, just consider that, okay? And I got to go because I'm almost out of time, but as I always say, make wise choices. You're choosing for your family, you're choosing for yourself, and you're choosing for people like me, and other patients. God bless.